everyone! So today we're going to take a look at Scratchboard and how to get started. So as you can see here, I have my small piece of Scratchboard. You can tell that it is for your media study based on its size. You can also tell that it's Scratchboard because it's a little bit shiny on the surface. So it is actually a white piece of paper that has been coated with this black material. Next you have your Scratchboard tool. You can see that it has been covered in tape. So the thing that you want to do to get started is you want to take a section just to start practicing with some of your marks. So as you can see here, I am sectioning off lightly with the Scratchboard tool, just a small sliver on the end. In this section, you're going to be practicing texture and value. So as you're practicing different textures and values, what you're going to want to do is you can try different techniques, such as hatching. So hatching lines are really close together. Cross-hatching, when you crisscross your lines together. You can notice that there's different ways that you can also draw your lines in terms of its thickness. If you use the point, you can get really tiny finite lines. If you turn it on its side, you can start to get these broader, thicker strokes that really show more of the white of the paper. So as you can see, you can get these really tiny marks if you just use the tip. All right, so I have my marks. The next thing I want to do is I want to create a value scale. So a value scale is going to be working from dark to light. In this case, we are going to be adding our highlight. So in order to do that, we start with lines that are well spaced out in our hatching lines, and we're going to build closer and closer and closer lines. And what that's going to do is it's going to reveal more of the paper, which means that then it is brighter and brighter as you go along. So as you can see here, you can already see that the value is becoming brighter from where I started. And I can keep pushing this until I reach the brightness of the paper. As you can see, I'm making multiple layers in multiple passes by going back and forth over the same area. All right, so as you can see, the last few, I've really reached the white of the paper. So the next thing I want to do is maybe go back over it with cross-hatching. So with cross-hatching, it's the same technique, except you're going to make a additional pass over your set of lines. So they're crisscrossing each other. So one's going one direction and your next set of lines are going the next direction. All right. So the other thing that you can do in this space or in this area is to also practice other types or kinds of texture. So this, for instance, is scumbling. Scumbling is considered like a scribbling. So where you're putting together sort of this circular fashion. And what that can do is really create a texture that works really well for anything that tends to be more soft or fluffy, things of that nature. You can also practice or explore additional ways of creating texture, or even create your own texture, such as a wavy texture where your lines are like hatching lines, except you've turned them into more of a pattern, and by repeating the pattern, you're creating a texture. You can see that right here in my example. All right, so the next thing that you might want to explore is a little practice in shading. So here I'm going to start off with a sphere. So with this sphere, you really want to think about your light source. You want to work from your brightest or lightest area to your darkest area. The reason for this is it's much easier to make things brighter, especially since we're working in a subtractive method that's also known as sgraffito, which means scratch away in Italian. In order to suggest that there is a cast shadow, you will need to lightly scratch away or add a little bit of value onto the surface, which means that you're going to have to go back to the sphere to make it that much brighter. So when you shade, everything is considered relative. So how bright something is compared to something else is entirely relative. It's what do you want to push and pull. So it's this push and pull of what you want to come forward and to take the notice, and what do you want to kind of disappear or recede into the background. So it's the same thing here with the sphere. Another tip too is you really want to follow the contour of the shape. The contour, all that means is the outer edge. So that means you're following the curve of whatever shape you are working with. So the next thing that you will want to do is you're going to want to work with and create your media studies. So as you can see, this is the image that I'm primarily working off of, and I've decided to work on the propeller. All right, so getting started with your media study, what you want to do is pull out a pencil. A couple things to note about working on Scratchboard is that it does not erase. So if you attempt to erase on Scratchboard, it's just going to create lots of smears and smudges all over your work. So as you work, what you want to do is really focus on just sketching in really lightly and just get to kind of the major shapes or components that will help guide your drawing.